Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. It's a feeling now. Hit 'em high, hit 'em low, 'cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got, 'cause we're ready.
Welcome to the Piffles Podcast, your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast, the first episode of 2025. Thanks so much for joining us here. As always, you got me. I'm Alex.
And you may know me from such shows as M for Meatball and the Sports Cage.
Yes, we are going to talk about that because you are radio famous now, Greg.
Is that even a thing? Like,
I was radio well, kind of.
kind of.
I was kind of radio famous for a decade, but now you've taken over the reins. But we're going to talk about that and the Sports Cage a little bit here later on the show. But you'll notice you didn't hear Steve. You will hear from Steve in a few minutes because episode 300, we figured we had to get a pretty big guest, and we did. We got Corey Mace, head coach of the Riders, to join us. Earlier today, actually, on Wednesday afternoon, Steve and I did an interview with him. We're going to play that right off the bat here, so you won't have to. If you only want to hear Corey Mace and not us, then we'll get to that right away. So
we'll get you out of here early.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's good for you guys. But of course, he can't do the show tonight, which was the only time we could do it. So that's the way it works out. So no Steve. So
part-time guy. 300 episodes in, he just can't get it together.
Yeah. One day, maybe. If he doesn't quit by then, I don't know. Thanks everybody for listening on your favorite podcast platform, watching on YouTube, watching on SaskTel Max TV on demand. Thank you. We appreciate it. Piffles Podcast is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sask Drive in Regina. How was your holidays, Greg?
Not bad. A little quiet. Got a lingering cough here, so if it looks like I'm doing chew, it's actually a Halls in my mouth right now. I know it's not the most professional thing, but
what's that?
It's either that or hack up a lung on camera. But
well, please don't do that. But as we get going here for this new season of the Piffles Podcast, of course, things remain the same. You can find us on social media at Piffles Pod on Twitter, Blue Sky, all those. We're at Facebook. You know where to go. You know where to find us. We're the easiest people to find. And I apologize for that because we're everywhere. But make sure you give us a follow and all that kind of good stuff because we're going to have some giveaways coming up to start 2025. That'll be coming next week. We'll do something. And the only way to do that is to follow us on social media. So make sure you're doing that. But as I said, we have Corey Mace joining us for episode 300. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the opening kickoff like we always do with the show. And that's when you're going to get the Corey Mace interview. So we might as well just do that right now. It's time for the opening kickoff. All right, well, we told you that episode 300 of the Piffles Podcast would be huge, and we weren't kidding. Super to have joining us for the first show of 2025, the head coach of your Saskatchewan Roughriders, Corey Mace. Corey, thanks for your time. How were the off-season holidays so far?
Everything's been good. First, just want to congratulate you guys, man. 300, that's crazy. So honored that I could be a part of this. So kudos to you guys. But no, the off season's been nice. Had some downtime with the family. Escaped the cold for a little bit, and then now we're just back to business here in the office now. So.
Well, we asked the fans for some questions, and we got to get the most important one out of the way here. What's your go-to blizzard from the Dairy Queen next door at Elphinstone and Sask Drive?
Yeah, man, that's tough because there's just I've been known to dabble in a few, but anything that's got chocolate, I'm all in. But the strawberry cheesequake is always a plus. But I found the you go Oreo, which is kind of lame, but it's classic. But then you go the royal fudge right down the middle. Now, I don't know, the doctor probably, if he's listening, it's like, stay away from that stuff. But man, that's tough to pass up.
You've been here in Riderville for just over a year now. Outside of football, how are you, Petra, Melina, and Micah liking it so far?
Oh man, we love it. We're fully entrenched. Everybody's been outstanding. I keep telling everybody that. Everybody always said, when I took the job, oh, be careful if you're around and things ain't going your way. I tell everybody, even during the stretch when things weren't going our way, interactions with everybody's been fantastic, man. And you love that about this place. And it's never an issue to sit down and talk for a little bit when anybody likes to interact. But family's totally entrenched, like I had mentioned. After this, at the office today, going to go to the Schmerler, take my daughter to swim classes and stuff. It's just, we're all over it, man. We love it.
Now, we just flipped the calendar over to 2025. Obviously, you guys are looking ahead to next season. What's a typical off-season day like for the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
Yeah, it's a good one. You should ask the wife about that, because I think she thought it was just, oh, you're off. Not so much. Yeah, it's just obviously working hand in hand with Jo and Kyle and Paul. We're just doing everything that we can to put the roster together and retain guys that we'd like, pending free agents from that standpoint. And then also, from a schematic standpoint, just changing nuances, self-scout, looking at things that you did really well, some things you want to improve on, as that goes for, all the coordinators. Obviously, from a head coaching standpoint, fortunately and unfortunately, when you have and you're doing good things, other teams want a part of that. So, we lost a coach this year who I love and respect, and JC Sherritt. So, you got to do your due diligence and trying to find, other qualified coaches to replace. So, there's that, making sure that your staff's up to par for what you're looking for, what you believe is successful. So, those are, I'd say, the main things. And then, after this, jumping on league meetings, and, we're going to head down to Charlotte here. And I think this weekend I'm going to take off down to Charlotte for the AFCA, and we have our league meetings there and just kind of talking over in totality of, putting things forward as potential rule changes, or getting a little bit more information on some of the rules that we already have that we need more clarity on, and et cetera, man. It's always geared towards making the league a better product.
Now, a lot with this organization over the last couple of years has been the talk about culture. We've talked about it a bunch on our show. I know this was a big thing when you took over the head coaching job. Now that you've had a year to establish new culture in Saskatchewan, how would you describe what that culture of this team and organization is?
Yeah, I think, from that standpoint, I would say I was most pleased with that. It can be like pulling teeth and trying to switch the mindset of people. Man, everybody, I thought from day one, was all over it, open-minded to maybe some things that would be done differently. And I thought, specifically the guys in the building, they took heed to it. And I thought the result of that was exactly, how we envisioned it. And it really, it's a ripple effect from, the locker room all the way up to the fourth floor and the business side of things. I think full organizationally, we see it as a healthy organization and what we're looking for and the culture that we're looking for. And truthfully, what we try to do is just mimic that of the residents of this province anyway. So, to this point and living here, I see that. I see all the things that we talk about it's pretty natural for people who are from here. And certainly, even these winters that we talk about, right? Like it takes a certain kind of person to play in cold weather games too. You gotta be able to weather that, and just get the hard work, and then, be around your loved ones. So, very prideful team. Very pleased with how everybody accepted that culture.
Now, on a more personal level, you're going into your second year as the head coach of the team here. What have you learned about yourself from a head coaching perspective from one year to the next?
Yeah, I think just now, like anything, reps, right? So, there was a lot of things that I tried to anticipate and prepare myself before it actually happened and taking over in this role. But now that you actually do it, you know exactly what to expect, and you're better prepared for it because you've been there. So I think that will be the biggest takeaway. You learn a lot throughout the season, not even as it just pertains to the in game or practices, but the scheduling, all the other things that are asked of someone sitting in this chair that might not specifically have to do with on-field stuff. But it takes time, and you got to learn how to manage your time properly to make sure that you can still execute everything that as it pertains, specifically to the team. So, yeah, man, just more repetitions at that, I think allows not only myself, but everybody else that, came over here in the first year regime or took over a new title that they'd never had before. Everybody will be able a step ahead, so to speak, on year 2.
I did 10 years in radio, and I've talked to a lot of coaches, heard from a lot of coaches, and I find that lots of coaches learn from other coaches. Back in the summer, your wife Petra joined me for an interview on the Piffles podcast here. I asked her this question, and I'm curious to hear your answer as well. You're both coaches. She does women's fitness, of course. At the dinner table, you're probably bouncing off ideas, talking about your day. What do you learn from Petra as a coach?
No, she's incredible. I mean, time management, that should be one. That's the first thing, she's got so many different clients that, don't actually live here. So she's working with clients on different time zones, making sure that she's got her deadlines that she's got to hit. Different clients require different things that she's got to be on point with, on top of, all the things that are asked or not even asked, just things that she does for our family to stay afloat. You know what I mean? So time management and her work ethic, man, it's crazy. So, and even for her, she's opened up a new program, within the last couple weeks here, and it's growing even bigger, so it's incredible to see. And I think just the thought process for us both of just how we approach things, it takes hard work and some sacrifice in some areas, but we kind of just try to support each other and lean on each other when we can and step in from that. Because at the end of the day, that's always what it's going to be about, is us supporting each other and supporting our family and wanting to see success. So I'm super proud of her, happy as ever, man. And I know she is, for me, as it pertains to this job.
Now, a lot of times you see players will follow coaches around in this league. You see it time and time again. Loyalty is a big thing. What is it about yourself, you think, that has players attaching themselves to you? Because we're already starting to kind of see that vibe and that attitude where players want to play for you. What do you think does that?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a question for me, maybe a question for those guys, but I think it just kind of falls back on the principles of how, we want to treat people around here. And I think having a little bit of an idea of what they go through in the day to day, just at one point or another being in their seats, so to speak. And just casual conversation. I've been on teams or been around teams that, you can't just sit down and have a conversation with the head coach, which I always thought was baffling, but some coaches like leading like that. That's just not what we do here. Love talking to guys about things that have nothing to do with football. I think some people appreciate that. So yeah, that's what I think. It's always cool to see whether guys follow or not, just maintaining those relationships with players that you've worked with, because you always want to see them succeed for themselves and their families. And if you can do it together, even better. But if not, no ill will. You just you're happy when you get those calls of hey, coach, having a new kid, or I'm getting married, or it's I enjoy that.
Back in the day, we had Old Taylor Field. You played there as a visitor, of course. You actually had some success. You had a 60-yard fumble return touchdown back in 2010 when you were with the Stamps. What was the better touchdown for you, that one or the touchdown catch you had in 2012?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to answer that. I'd say the 60-yarder looks a lot sweeter, and I think the implications of that game, I think it clinched us first place in the West at that time. So that was pretty cool. But I tell you, I don't remember playing a snap after that. I was so tired. The catch from Bo, I think will go down as it's pretty cool as his first touchdown pass, when his career is all said and done. But that was only for 1 yard. I was able to play after that. So I like that aspect of it too. But I'd probably lean keep it Sask, man. We'll go for the first one in Sask.
Well, I have to say, as a fantasy football player, a 1 yard touchdown catch is just as important as any other touchdown catch. So
no doubt.
The makeup of this team for 2025 really appears to be one of continuity, both coaching staff and on the roster. Is that one of your goals, is to kind of keep that continuity going forwards?
Yeah, it's ideal. I think if you look around, the league and you see the teams who have been in the upper half in the standings, it's just that, right? It's continuity. It's because you don't have to always reset and reteach culture, for example, or it goes a long way. For players being in the same system, knowing the same coaches, knowing what's expected. You don't have to start training camp of learning everything from scratch. So it is important. I think continuity, absolutely. Regardless, you're always looking to find ways to strengthen the team. But I do believe being able to have that continuity with players that can help you get over the hump. You want to try to keep that. Now, obviously, with free agency and you can't just say, "Oh, I want everybody back." Guys are gonna be like, "Sure, well, how much you gonna give us?" But you try to do your best to manage all that, and unbelievable faith in the things that Jo and Kyle and Paul and those guys do as well. So yeah, man, really looking forward to 25.
And then speaking of that continuity, I'm hoping Micah Johnson's going to be back. I know you probably can't get into contract talks and all that stuff. That might be more of a Jo question. But what's it like coaching a guy that you played with?
Yeah, it's very it's a unique deal. I'd say at this point, we're getting, and that's all credit to Micah, truthfully, but Derek Wiggin just retired. So the numbers are dwindling from guys that I played with, and then having to coach, making the transition, getting into coaching. Almost every guy my first year was a teammate of mine at some point. And I'd have to look, man. Micah might be the last one standing from that regime, but he's been nothing but a pro. Obviously had a excellent year for himself, and I think just a respect factor, not only as player to coach and just understanding the dynamics of that in the building, but how we are. Even when I wasn't coaching, he was on other teams, and I was coaching somewhere else, and the communication that we had as former teammates and, even as a former player of mine, just nothing but respect for the man and, being where he's at in his career and still having the production. It's been excellent.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, because there's a big game happening not long after we finish this recording. We're both Tottenham Hotspur fans. I'm wearing the jersey now. What do you think our odds are today against Liverpool?
Listen, it's always Spurs, baby. Coys till we die.
I like it. I like
awesome. Awesome, boys. I appreciate you guys.
No idea what you guys are talking about here.
I'll teach you one day, Alex.
All right. Last one for you, Corey, because I know you got to get going here. What's going to be different about this 2025 team that we see on the field than the version we got last year with your first year as head coach?
Yeah, I would think just kind of what we spoke to. Just a familiarity with everything, of what's to be expected. We already know what the expectations are of what we're looking for as a staff and as a team. And the players that now at this point, instead of the coaches, can kind of be a little firmer in holding everybody accountable, which leads, I think, to a faster start and an understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished. So, that's the goal, is being able to have us, start fast, but also maintain those expectations throughout the year. So there's not a few hiccups, throughout the week or anything like that. The players, should be able to have a little bit more hold on the reins from that standpoint. So, just really looking forward to it. I know the guys are all itching, texting about information. Hey, when can we look at this? When can we look at that? And you love that as a coach. So they're ready to go. The coaches are ready to rock, and we're already working, man. So looking forward to it.
I know we're still a few months away from training camp, but we're fans. We can't wait to see you guys back on the field. Corey, thanks for your time. I know you don't have a lot of it to spare, so we do appreciate that. Take care and have a great rest of the off season.
Hey, appreciate you guys. And again, congrats on 300, man. Excellent.
All right.
So there you go. Our interview with Corey Mace. I wish we had more time with him. We were told we had 15 minutes. And normally I'd push that a little bit longer because they usually have a few extra minutes, but he was actually joining a league meeting that he couldn't be late for. So unfortunately, we only got 15 or so minutes with Corey Mace, but it's 15 minutes more than we got with him last year. So I'm very happy. It's great to chat with him. And yeah, there you go.
We could normally pick the Randy card, but with Randy on his way out, like we couldn't even pull that one out. It's like, Randy's fine. He's a good friend of ours.
We'll see what kind of strings Randy can pull in his last little tenure as the CFL commissioner.
Go guns blazing, Randy. Do everything.
Right. So there you go. Corey Mace, obviously back in full swing with free agency. The free agent negotiation window opens up in just a few weeks. So him and J.O. are going to be, if they haven't already, looking down at that free agent list, who's available and who could help this team in 2025. So lots of stuff coming up for the Riders. Hopefully some re-signings, because we really haven't had much over the last few weeks.
Quiet.
Yeah. And normally that's something, I mean, our last episode was Festivus. So it was, 3 weeks ago. And we've only had a handful of signings since then. So, and of course there was, the one trade.
Mean the best trade I've ever seen, other than the other one that could have happened, which would probably make Steve quit the show.
We actually should have done an emergency pod when that happened, because it would have been way more raw and emotional for me. And the problem is, so the Riders, of course, we all know what happened. They got Jake Mayer, quarterback from Calgary, for an 8th round draft pick, which I think it's conditional, so it might be a 7th round draft pick. Which
I think if they sign him, it's up to a 7. That is what I've heard.
Yeah. So whatever, you gave up nothing for his negotiation rights, basically. Now, you guys know I'm not the biggest Jake Mayer fan.
Really?
Find enough backup. Yeah, I know. You should pay attention.
That's news I am learning for the first time tonight.
You should pay attention to the show sometime.
I
promise you, you'll learn something. It won't be anything important, but you'll learn something.
Yeah, well, nothing will be useful, but we'll learn something.
But here's the thing: is I've come around on the trade for this year, for 2025. I like the trade for 2025, giving us experience behind Trevor Harris, for a guy that has plenty of experience over his 3-4 years in the league here. Lots of starting experience. He wasn't the problem in Calgary last year. It was basically everything around him. He played fairly well. And ultimately, if you're going to have to rely on him for a few games in 2025, if you're the Riders, which we likely will have to, as long as he plays fairly well, we should do fine. So in that sense, if it's just for a couple games kind of thing, I don't mind it. But I still don't like it going forward in 2026 and beyond if he is the starter. If he is pegged as the replacement for Trevor Harris, I'm still not a big fan of that. But
I think more than anything, it'll be a transitional period. They're going to sign him for at least a 2-year contract. I don't think that you're going to go into next year with both your 1 and your 2 as free agents. That's just too perilous in the CFL. Unless someone's coming up as a free agent, or you got your next guy, you're not going to do that. what I see happening is at least a 2-year contract. And I wish I had my notes on me from when I was on the cage, because we talked a little bit about the Jake Maier trade, and his numbers, I kid you not, from not this past season, the season before 2023, are very similar to Darian's in 2009. Like, they're almost exactly the same. So he's a decent enough quarterback in the right system. And I still stand by Darian Durant is probably definitely the best quarterback of my generation, and deserves his flowers. So Jake has shown he's got the skills. Hopefully, coaching and playing behind Trevor Harris will help mold him into that quarterback that the Riders obviously think he can be in a Mark Mueller system.
Well, and that's the thing is with Mark Mueller, he has that relationship with him from their Stampeder days. So I can't imagine that this trade wouldn't go through without some input from Mark Mueller and at least getting his thoughts on it. Not that he's the be all end all, but I don't hate the trade, but I don't love it. I'm okay with it, but I've grown on it for the last 3 weeks. So I wish I could tell you there would be more fire out of this one for me, but there's just not. But
New year, new Alex.
Maybe.
New Alex.
But they still haven't signed him yet. So it's really interesting that they make this trade for him on, fittingly enough, Festivus on December 23rd. But we've heard nothing about it since. So I don't know. I'm sure it'll happen. It's just a matter of time.
Well, and that's it. Like, I think Naylor was on the record a couple days ago saying it's coming sooner than later. So obviously they're probably just hammering out when do the bonuses kick in, especially for a guy with very limited playing time. That is going to be where he's definitely going to want to make sure everything is in his favor.
What happens first? Jake Maier signs a contract with the Riders, or the CFL schedule is released?
At this point, Maier, because
a few more weeks is what we're told. Justin Dunk got that from a
dropped that
source
tonight. Like,
yeah.
Why?
A few more weeks. They're still figuring things out. It's a 9-team league. We know where every team plays. They play everybody twice. You play a couple Western or your division rivals one extra time. It's not hard to figure this out. Why it's taken them so long, I have no idea.
The only thing I could think of is, and even then this seems kind of ridiculous, it's holding it off this long, is there's probably some stadium holds with a major concert going through Canada this summer.
Probably.
And that's the only thing I could think of doing it.
Although I'm speaking of that, I think that there's also something else to it. It's when they're going to have a game in Edmonton around that August 17th time. Maybe that's Sunday the 17th. Just to cater to me, because I got tickets for Creed in Edmonton on August 19th. So, and that's a Tuesday. So they got to have an Elks home game somewhere around then. So hopefully they're just tinkering for that so I can spend a few days out in Edmonton.
Obviously, that's what it is. Yeah.
A game. Yeah. But we have had some Rider news over the last few weeks. Few re-signings. So we'll get to those right now. Defensive back Jaden Dalkey was re-upped for one more year, which to me, that was the surprising one that I saw. Not because I dislike the guy. We all have big Dalkey energy here. But it seemed like he was in Corey Mace's doghouse last year. So maybe things changed, but the focus I've found that with the re-signings that they have, their pending free agents that the Riders had that they're re-signing are all Canadians. So they are locking up Canadian depth, which to me and with Dalkey here, that's pretty important actually.
Oh, definitely. Like, we were all on the keep him or let him go. We were all on let him go because unfortunately he played his way out of that spot due to his lack of discipline, for lack of a better term on that one. But that being said, the dude can hit and he's good on special teams. Like, if they could get him to harness what he was his rookie season, he might be that hard-hitting safety that we really want because we thought he would be. He just has to ease up on those penalties. but yeah, like the Herman Reed twins. Thank God I don't have to pick who my favorite is anymore. Like I was a little worried there. Benoit Marion, like I said, he came in basically off the street
He
and
played
played his way
solid.
into and played solid, and he's stuck in the rotation. So I'm glad to see him back. That Canadian depth on the defensive line is going to be nice to have. Yeah, no, more Canadians the better, because if you can flip that ratio in your favor, you can do many creative things with the Americans you do have.
Now we just got to get Adam O'Clair and AJ Allen for Canadians re-upped here, because those linebackers right now, especially with Jameer Thurman as well being a pending free agent, and we're going to talk about the linebackers coming up here in a little bit. That's my worry spot right now on the team, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. A couple other signings, some Americans, defensive back Tyreek McGee, and an offensive lineman Brandon Kemp, who is 6'7", big massive dude, which
spent some time with the Titans and the Ticats. So
yeah, what was it, 12 games he started with the Ticats over the last few years, which is now pretty important because now the Riders are down a left tackle. We're back to square one with Trevor Reed being released for an NFL opportunity. And of course, we always wish these guys the best. We want to see them live out their dream, make it down south, make it in the NFL, get that bag, make millions of dollars as opposed to tens of thousands of dollars here in the CFL. But it leaves a big hole in the Riders' O-line. So now the guy who was a rock at left tackle, we were searching for a left tackle for 4 years. We finally got one.
Yeah, finally found one that's NFL caliber.
Yeah, played hurt for a good portion of the season and gutted it out and was still very, very solid. He was the Riders' Rookie of the Year nominee. And, 1 year and he's NFL bound, which, I mean, is a testament to the talent that Jeremy O'Day and the scouting staff have found recently, and the coaching of offensive line coach Edwin Harrison. So if we go into 2025 now with that same kind of thing, okay, well, who's going to be our left tackle? We got Jamarcus Hardrick, but now if they re-sign Trayvon Tate, we have Jacob Brammer coming back. We have this new guy, Brandon Kemp, whoever else they sign between now and training camp for Americans, at least anyway. I feel a lot more comfortable this year with the offensive line, knowing that we have Edwin Harrison coaching them again, and these guys that we had last year got extensive playing time and did fairly well. So I feel better going into this, even though this is still a big loss for the Riders.
Oh, definitely. Like when you got, like, he was young, was it 23, 24? Like young, picked up the game, pure rookie, and was a stud. And to lose that sucks. But yeah, the way Harrison coached that O-line last year, was it 12 stars, 13 men rotated through that line?
Yep.
Like just ridiculous. And they never really lost a step. Could the running game been better? Yes, but the quarterback was always well protected. So,
well, that's the signings that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Other Rider news that we haven't had since our last show. The coaching staff was announced. Basically, everyone returns except for J.C. Sherritt, which we knew he's now the defensive coordinator in Edmonton. So we need a new linebacker coach. We got Travis Brown. He was the BC Lions linebacker coach, and they've had some pretty good linebackers come through that team over at BC over the last few years. So this is, to me, it's a good one.
It's going to depend on who's in that linebacking core in general, because they had some really good guys and they had a really good coach. So let's see what happens if we hopefully bring most of them back and have a different coach. It's going to be one of those nature versus nurture things.
Yeah, pretty much. And they added an offensive assistant, Josh Donnelly. If the name's familiar, that's because he used the U of R Rams for the last little bit. Former quarterback with them as well. He took over for Noah Picton a few years ago.
Mark Mueller's going, hey, another Rams coach, Rams quarterback, come up here. Let's get this done.
Yeah, I wonder what Noah Pickton's up to. Maybe he can do something on the side anyway. We'll just have all the former.
I'm pretty sure that would be the transition. Actually, it went to Mueller to Picton to Donnelly.
Yeah, maybe.
What's Teal Orban doing? Let's bring him back.
Remember that publicity stunt?
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Eric Tillman was the GM, and I think this is the old Riderville forums that I was on when Tillman was the GM, and he used to post there every once in a while. And I said, well, that's a waste of a draft pick. I know it was like the end of the draft, so it's a what the hell.
They signed him as a free agent. Didn't they? I thought they signed him as a free agent.
No, I thought they drafted him. I thought it was like set. Like it was like
I'm sure they. I think they signed him like 2 seconds after the draft was over. I don't think they even drafted him. I think they just signed him immediately after the draft was over. But yeah, because that preseason game, it was the All Regina backfield because it was
Stu Ford,
Hughes, Ford, and Teal Orban at quarterback. Yep.
I mean, pretty cool moment. Don't get me wrong, but realistically, Orban was never going to make the roster. So it was. It was a feel good story, so it's fine. But sad news though in Riderville for longtime spotter. That's the guy up in the broadcast booth along with the PA announcer. It's the guy who caught the ball, where the ball got placed, who made the tackle, all that kind of stuff. Helps out the PA announcer, which was Evan Bray. Now it's Daryl Brace. Lauren Schmier passed away recently at the age of 80. He did that job for 20 plus years as the spotter of the Rough Riders. So condolences go out to his family, friends. He was a teacher as well too, so I know a lot of Rider fans were taught by him. I actually worked with his brother Jerry for a little bit as well too. Really great guy, great family. So sad news for Rough Rider fans. There's Lauren Schmier passed away at the age of 80.
One of those unsung heroes.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to say it's a thankless job, but it's one of those just doesn't get enough attention because you're paying attention to what's going on, and the PA announcer doesn't want to sound like a fool, so you got to have a good spotter with you, and you don't spend 20 plus years as a spotter without being a good one. So that was definitely Lauren Schmier there. So, yeah, just sad news on that behalf. Well, there's the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Festian of Roy LePage Regina Realty. Let's jump to our Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones. And Greg, this is where I wanted to talk about the sports cage, because you're radio famous now. You have a hosting show.
Is that even a thing?
Under your belt. Yes, it is. I was stopped once at a tailgate. You're producer Alex. Yeah. So I had one groupie. Hi, Judy. But yeah. So you hosted the sports cage, co-hosted, I should say, with Barney.
With Barney
on it was New Year's Eve, and you have another one coming up right away as well. So
looking like Friday. This coming Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about the sports cage here.
It was nerve-wracking as a media nerd, as a guy that went to U of R to hopefully at one point, young Greg wanted to be that, and then gave up his dreams many, many years ago. It was nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I just treated it like it was a live Piffles, which was both a blessing and a curse, I think. I don't think they knew what they were getting into, because literally me and Barney didn't meet until like 10 minutes before the show started. And it was just like, all right. It was like the world's most awkward first date. But
that sounds like radio. That sounds like the radio business, actually.
But
you said you're doing it again on Friday.
Yeah, they asked me to come back, so I don't think they learned their lesson.
You weren't terrible then.
I was told not everyone can do radio.
Turns out you
can.
They
were very adamant that not everyone can do radio.
I can't even hold that over you anymore, that I was the radio guy on this show. I guess I can still hold that over Steve, but
Yeah.
It's not as fun when it's just Steve now.
Well, we kind of screwed up by when we all applied for the play-by-play job. We counterbalanced each other.
I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know that's a pretty cool thing for you. I wrote in the notes here how to cheer Greg up. Talk about hosting the Sports Cage. How to piss Greg off. Talk about Steven Smith. Former Riders linebacker, was with the Regina Thunder, of course, and practiced with the Riders. Ended up on the PR all of last year, so we could practice with the Riders. Signed with the Toronto Argonauts, and you knew this was happening before it was officially announced, and you weren't happy then, and I can tell you're still not happy about it now.
I don't get me wrong. I'm of two minds. As a member of the Regina Thunder board, I am happy that a team recognized how good Steven is. 2-time back-to-back defensive player of the year for the CJFL. The guy is from Abernathy, Saskatchewan, went to school in Lemberg, small town farm boy, works his butt off. I think I told you guys this story off air. I don't think I told it on the air. After the Thunder got their butts handed to them by Saskatoon at Mosaic, there was already a scheduled alumni event where the bearded chef, former Regina Thunder player, and another guy whose name's escaping me right now, and I feel bad about this, owns a barbecue company, and they fed the team and the board. Amazing food. But this was supposed to be after practice. Well, practice went late because Scott, after their performance, decided they needed a little more conditioning. And so what he did was he had the fifth years come up, and Steven was one of them. And the captains were the fifth years, because most of them were captains were fifth years anyway, and they were running the field. And then he had the fourth year stand up, and they started. And then he had the fifth years. Okay, you guys are done. Smith ran with every group from the fifth years all the way down to the rookies. That is leadership.
I'm tired thinking about that.
He did not skip a set because he leads by example. That I respected him before that. I have respect for him as a player and as a man after that. Like, he, from everything that's been told about from the playing side, he is a sponge. Sounds like he fit very well in with the Rider linebacker room. After they beat the Hilltops, his phone blew up. As a bunch of the Riders that were happy for him. So the fact that he's in Toronto annoys me. I think, and this is me casting aspersions, I have no idea, but I think the Riders thought he's a Saskatchewan boy. He's just going to stay here. And Toronto signed him. And the thing is, though, even if he doesn't make the Argos, they can suspend him and he can go to school. Because I know for a fact he's got a bunch of scholarship opportunities because he hasn't used up his eligibility yet. So technically speaking, the Argos, he doesn't even need to play for the Argos this year. And he can go to a school and they will still own his rights. So as much as I hate, the GM there, Murphy.
John Murphy.
Smart play. Like he played the system well on that one.
Well, speaking of linebackers, that's where we're going to go here with our, we haven't done one in a while, a positional group deep dive. We're kind of doing that in the off season here, taking a look at Riders positional group, who's signed, who's not, and what we think with that group going into the 2025 season. So conveniently enough, it's the linebackers. So we'll start with, normally we start with who's signed, but I want to talk about who's not here because these are the big names. Unsigned right now, there are 3 pending free agents for the linebackers. We'll start with the starting middle linebacker, as Greg's just about to die here.
I'm dying right now. Oh my word.
Jameer Thurman, obviously, the Riders' middle linebacker, the star of that defense in the middle anyway. they have to resign him, right? Because you can't take your chances that a guy like Wynton McManus is going to test free agency. You have to. I mean, when we talked to Corey Mace, we talked about continuity. Jeremy O'Day and Corey Mace have found guys that they like and guys that they want to go forward with. And I can't imagine after one excellent year, they'd want to move away from Jameer Thurman. So whether the contract's already signed and they're just, waiting to announce it just before free agency opens, because they do that all the time, or what's going on, or if it's money, and who knows. But I'm surprised. Maybe it's because of his arm injury, and they're just playing that out to see how close he is to being ready to go, because he played the last half of the season with a broken arm and had surgery just shortly after the season ended. I think it was like the Tuesday after the West final, he had surgery, and then he was back out at Grey Cup in Vancouver signing autographs with his arm in a sling. But to me, they have to re-sign Jameer Thurman.
There has to be talks going on. And like I said, I'm hoping it's a situation where the contract is signed. They're just waiting to announce. But considering how well he played, he's a guy, and his leadership in that locker room, he's a guy you want to bring back no matter what. And you don't really want to gamble it on, is McManus going to hit the free agency? Like, if he does, yeah, maybe, but like that, it seems like a fool's game, because is McManus a better player? Yeah, maybe, but Thurman's pretty damn good too.
Yeah, there isn't a huge drop off from one to the other.
No.
And like last year they were 1A, 1B in terms of best linebackers in the league. So maybe they're looking at saving money there. Who knows? Because the way that CJ Avery played, who is signed for 2025, the way that he started the year playing on the outside, maybe he shifts to the inside and plays the middle spot, and they can save a little bit of money there. They have a guy familiar with the system, made some big time plays, had those clutch interceptions at the beginning of the year, and then just got caught up in the numbers game with the Canadian ratio. And that was when we saw Adam O'Clair start. So maybe CJ Avery is the answer at middle linebacker. I don't know. But it's nice knowing that we do have that option right now if Thurman isn't brought back.
I'm not against trying Avery back there, but I still like that security blanket, especially considering they're bringing Trevor Harris back. They are definitely in a win this year mode. So I would, what was it? 2 in the hand is better than, or 1 in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. Like, I would rather know what we have going in. Yeah, near do I. But I would rather go into the season knowing we've got a stud middle linebacker running that defense than a guy with a ton of potential. And don't get me wrong, he's got a ton of potential. And yes, he could be a starting middle linebacker in this league. I don't know if that's going to be this year, though.
Yeah, that might be more of a 2026 thing. And then Adam O'Clair, who started a lot of those games at the will side linebacker. He's a pending free agent.
I'm surprised he's not signed. I thought that was a no brainer that you sign him like immediately after the.
After the season that he had in 2024, it was one of those. It wasn't a big flashy signing when they brought him in free agency. I think he was a day 2 or day 3 signing when free agency officially opened. And we thought he was just going to be a depth piece, but he ended up being a very important part of this team's success and had a very solid season. And when we talk about continuity, probably want to bring that back, especially with him being Canadian, and you can keep that starting linebacker a Canadian spot.
Yeah, I think when we signed him, we were like, oh, he's going to be good on special teams, and he'll get in the rotation. Dude was an all-star. Like, he was really, really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I thought he'd be a no-doubter easily.
And then the other free agent, of course, is another Canadian, AJ Allen, who just recently had some NFL tryouts, and probably waiting to see how those go if he gets any calls back from there, because I would think that he'd be pretty high up on the priority list. With
Monday, they can start. Monday is when they can start signing the CFL players' futures, right?
Yes,
It's
because
just
they
this
can sign future contracts now in the NFL, but they have to wait for till next week, I think.
Yep.
So I'm sure we'll see. We've seen. I mean, Trevor Reed released. There was Elliott Brown in Edmonton was just released, defensive lineman to go to the NFL. So, but I would think AJ Allen, if he doesn't go to the NFL, is a pretty high priority because he made some big time plays, had that pick six to open the game against BE in that game for first place late in the year last year. And
Nathan Rourke didn't like that highlight.
No, and great on special teams as well. AJ Allen he was right there with Roland Milligan the entire year for league leaders and tackles on special teams. So hoping that they bring all three of those pending free agents, Thurman, Auclair, AJ Allen, all back. But we did mention, of course, CJ Avery under contract. So is Jordan Herdman-Reed, Justin Herdman-Reed. We talked about those re-signings. So good special teams guys there, guys that can fill in the rotation if need be. But generally speaking, mostly special teams guys and very solid special teams guys. And sticking with the Canadians, they also have Zach Fillion brought back as well, and Malik Straker drafted last year, and Nick Weeb as well too from the U of S. Hopefully past all the injuries, both those guys, and we can see what they have. Maybe they're. To me, this year, 2025, almost feels like 2013. Not to the same extent where, the Grey Cup's at home, but this is the year that they have to do it. And then maybe next year is when we can shed some of that salary, maybe go with a couple of younger guys that we might want to do this year, but we should probably go with the vet this year.
Especially if you think about, like, Harris is back. Chances are they're bringing Micah back. Like, you got guys that still can play at a high level, but let's face it, they're sunsetting their career.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, if you're bringing all these older vets back that can still play at a high level, you are in win this year mode, and you have guys behind them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a weird season, I think. It's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad.
Yeah.
That's Ryder football.
Of course, we have CJ Revis at the Sam linebacker, the cover linebacker spot. We know he's excellent. Not worried about that spot whatsoever. So having him back is wonderful. And then they also have Braxton Hill, who they just signed, and Aubrey Miller Jr. as well, too, who was the guy who lipped off to Chris Jones last year.
Bill Belichick's new best friend.
Yeah, did not see that coming. Not necessarily surprising, but just didn't
Chris
see
Jones. They need to make a movie about Chris Jones and his travels.
That would be a good documentary. A 30 for 30, a Netflix documentary. I don't know. The Chris Jones
career
experience,
he's had is just baffling.
It's wild.
I want the highs and the lows. Like, I want, like, reenactments of fights outside the pump, and I want him meeting Bill Belichick. Like, I want everything.
Can't say which player, but the CFL drafts when Chris Jones was GM here. Stories about that.
Oh, that was I like.
Hopefully that'd be in there as well too. Certain vodka company would probably sponsor that one. But anyway, Aubrey Miller Jr., he's back as well too. Good special teams guy, can play in the rotation as well. But when I look at this, I see a lot of depth, which is good. But outside of CJ Revis, I look at who's under contract right now. CJ Revis, obviously a starter. CJ Avery is right there too.
Yep.
But there's a big drop off. And that's where those pending rates, Thurman, Auclair, and Allen really, really show their worth, I guess.
the biggest question is the Canadian linebacker, because like you need to bring back one of the two of Allen and Auclair, if not both. But I think behind them, if Weeb is past his injury history, Straker was playing really good, especially on specials at the beginning of the season. He looked like he could be something in preseason. So hopefully, like you said, you sign the guy, but get some of these young guys ready for 2026.
So it should be an interesting year for the linebackers, for the Riders, because there's some really good ones there, and then there's huge question marks down the line. So with what they have in 2025, I don't mind it as long as Thurman and Auclair are brought back. But following that, who knows? So there's our little look at linebackers. We'll jump back to the offensive side on the next episode of the Piffles podcast. But figured with having Corey Mace on for 300, we should probably at least go with the defensive side of the ball, looking at stuff this week. So, but I don't know. I don't have anything else written down. Is there anything else?
I don't know. I don't know if my lungs could last any longer. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, well, that's cutting it pretty close to the full hour. So maybe we'll just leave it there. So you can
See,
actually.
Steve, this is what gutting through an injury feels like.
What's his injury?
I have no idea.
Just a wimp.
Tech problems, probably, knowing the idea.
Hurt his fingers trying to send an email or something.
A paper cut. Oh.
Those hurt. Maybe we'll just leave it there. Piffles podcast.
Just trash Steve on the way out. There you go.
300.
Yeah. Woo!
We made it, yeah. And it was actually pretty cool of Corey Mace to congratulate us on that. So, hey, we haven't got canceled yet, but there's still time.
I got to do some Barry Horowitz back padding here.
Oh.
And to you, because technically speaking, I wasn't on episode 1. You and Steve obviously were. And to see this podcast grow to the running joke was we were just looking for someone to pay for our beer as we talk football. And to now be on Sastel Max, to be on YouTube, to do video of all things with our faces. I don't know what we're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But CFL week, we've had the commissioner on, Warren Moon, Darian Durant, Corey Mace. Like, we've done more things than I don't think we ever thought we could do. And a lot of that is us being too stupid to take no for an answer. And people actually listening and viewing, because I still don't understand.
And it's the other Rider fans and people listening and watching that, I mean, we don't normally talk about what we do and I guess the good that we do. We never really pat ourselves on the back. I know we're doing it right now, but we never normally do that. But the best thing,
300 episodes. I think figured 300 episodes in, we gotta do at least once.
Yeah, we'll do it again at episode 400 if we'll get canceled by then. But the best things we do are raise money for charities, whether it was Hope's Home doing the Piffles Bowl, whether it was CFL Fans Fight Cancer, whatever. It's because of Rider fans that want to help out. The signs for Roland Milligan for MOP, which, hey, I still have yours. Come pick yours up.
You still have mine. Well, I'm looking at my poster that I made for you, me, and Cody and Steve for the Jesus Sprinkle shirt. That will go down as one of my favorite things I've ever done, ever. Because of the
$6,000 for HRF. And getting Cody in trouble for doing that too.
Whoops.
So, but like it's stuff like that. Like that's the best stuff that we do. So hopefully there's more of that to come. And we should actually probably have an off-season meeting and discuss what we want to do.
I think we're due for one.
Yeah, go grab a couple pints or something. But yeah, it's pretty cool that we hit this 300 milestone. I wasn't even sure what to expect when we first started doing it. and that was 9 years, almost nine full years ago, 9 seasons ago now. Maybe we'll have a celebration next week because it'll be my 300th. I've only missed one episode, and it was because I think it was when I was at Grey Cup in Edmonton, and Stephen Furlan ended up doing the show. No, I came back for that one.
You missed two because we hosted one in my office, just audio only, and it was Furlan, me, Steve, and I think Sheldon.
Oh, that could have been it. Yeah. Well, next week we'll have like an Alex 300 episode.
There you go.
And it'll be the shortest episode because it'll be all my highlights. But
when we do Steve highlights, it's going to be the Al Bradbury rant.
And the Chris Streller video. I was half expecting you to play that, but it's not the same without him.
No, it's not. It's not the same without him here. But I still love the little inside baseball when Jake Mayer signed both me and Steve, or got traded. Both me and Steve went to Cameo.
Both look
Jake Mayer independently, and he does not do them. So
I love that you guys do that, but I also hate that you guys did that, and I wouldn't expect anything less. But honestly, it's the listeners. 300 episodes doesn't happen without people listening and hopefully enjoying, but at least getting another perspective of Rider fans, because that's what we are. We're fans. We pay for our season tickets just like everybody else. We go to games and cheer on the team just like everybody else. So we're one of you guys. So Rider Nation, thank you. Because it's been a blast. Honestly, these 9 years have been a lot of fun.
I still can't believe it's been 9 years. It does not feel like 9 years. It feels like 300 episodes, but it does not feel like 9 years.
Here's to one more, at least one more.
One more episode, 301. All right.
Yeah. I'm not going to promise another 300. I can't do that. That's a long time.
We'll do this until the Riders win the Grey Cup. Then you're on your own.
Oh, hopefully that's this year. We can shut her down after that. We'll be good. But we will leave it there. We'll be back maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks. I don't know what our off-season schedule is like. We don't really have one. We're just going to show up whenever and figure it out as we go. But Piffles Podcast, of course, is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sass Drive in Regina. Of course, special thanks as always go out to Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Realty and Churchill Brewing Company for their support to make this show happen. And thanks for watching on YouTube, listening wherever you get your podcasts, and watching on SaskTel Max TV on demand. We hope you enjoyed. And special thanks to Corey Mace for making time out of his busy schedule, even just for 16 minutes to take time and join a couple fans. So thank you, Corey and Ariel with the Riders for setting that up and making that happen. This is Ghost Behind Your Mind by Tyler Gilbert.